Alright. Hello, Andy. For my entrepreneurship class, I was asked to interview 5 people in order to get a better understanding of an opportunity that I constructed. What my opportunity is the construction of houses that are more friendly to the ecosystem in order to help preserve and sustain our environment. I would first like to start off by having you say some information about yourself. Information like as in what school you currently go to, if you are in school, what your major is, what year you are, where you're originally coming from, and any additional information you can tell me about yourself, like your interests or hobbies, so I can be able to analyze your characteristics in order to get an understanding of your answers to my upcoming questions based on your geographic and demographic standpoint.
Alright.
Alright, so your school.
I am currently attending Palm Beach State College.
Alright, now your major.
My major, I'm a transfer student for agricultural, food and resource economics.
Okay, and your current college year.
I am currently a sophomore.
Alright, and your hometown that you're from, where you're originally from.
Born and raised in Palm Beach County, which is north of Miami.
Okay, and now just any additional information about yourself, like your interests or hobbies.
Well, I like to fish and hunt. I like to run. I like to run on, like, trails if I can. Hike, camp, things like that. Outdoor stuff.
Okay, now that we know a little bit of information on where you are coming from, I'd then like to proceed on asking you a few questions in order to test a hypothesis that I constructed. I'm doing this because I would like to get your perspective on the who's, the what, and the whys, along with the perspective of 4 other individuals, so I can get a more diverse and broad understanding of information pertaining to my business opportunity. The first question I'd like to ask you deals with the who's. Do you feel like there is a need for the construction of eco-friendly houses? And also, do you feel like others would have this need? And if yes or if no, please explain why you view it that way.
Well, I feel like there is a need for the development of eco-friendly houses, especially now, since we know that there's a lot of resources being cut down and fossil fuels are burning. So, anything that we can really do to advance our development as a society in a more green manner would probably be for the better, as long as it's, fairly, inexpensive and reasonable.
Okay, now for my next set of questions. They're going to deal with the what's of my hypothesis and opportunity. Do you think that current houses are really that harmful to the environment? And if yes or if no, please explain why.
I think, depending on what it has to do about the current house, are we referring to, the electrical in the house and appliances and things like that?
I really where would you consider I'm also trying to say depending on locations too, depending on whether it's in a different nation or a different country or a different state within the United States.
Well, I think modern homes are slowly developing better over time as opposed to what they used to be. But I think, factory or something like that that's putting a lot of emissions into the air, as opposed to use electricity that maybe on like a solar panel or something like that. Even stuff that the house is built out of as well, possibly, and the house, maybe caught on fire or something like that, then the least harmful things that they put in it for the environment would make it a little less of a damage to the atmosphere. Obviously more than you lose all your stuff, but just things like that.
Yeah, and like things like preserving like energy or like electricity in the house, like how like some people like they'll like leave their like phone chargers like plugged into like an outlet without even having like a phone connected to it or like anything like that, or just like
Exactly.
leaving like the water running.
Right, exactly. Just leaving on appliances or doing things when they're not home anyway, having the air conditioning running, all these things that you don't really need to do if you're not even home anyway. So I think if you do things like that, then you are probably adding more. You are being less eco-friendly. Then I think it has more to do with maybe the owner of the home as well.
Yeah. Okay, for my next question I would like to ask you, do you feel like current houses could be an extreme, or do you feel that eco-friendly houses could be an extreme benefit towards our environment, or just a slight one? Because
I
like,
think on a massive scale, I would say it would be an extreme benefit, just because of anything eco-friendly on a massive scale is probably beneficial. I think if it was something that was possibly so expensive that people couldn't really afford to do it, and it was only the select few people or in certain areas that people could do it in, then it wouldn't be very beneficial overall. But I think if this was something that if we moved toward, like every time we develop a new area, just from let's say now on, was eco-friendly, I think that would end up being a big, major influence toward preserving the environment, just because it would be a huge scale development project throughout the future.
okay, I see. And lastly, I'd like to proceed with some questions that deal with the whys. Okay, so why do you think houses were and still produced this way and not originally created with the thought of having it be as energy preserving as possible? So I'm asking you like, why do you think the houses are produced like the current way, like how it is now, like using the energy that it is using now as comparison to ways that some like eco-friendly like businesses are like producing houses?
I would say that probably has to do with one, demographic, just depending on where it is. And then two, I would say that it has to do with how expensive it is, how much it costs to build something that's eco-friendly, and if they consider that expense to be enough if they consider that expense to be enough, that if they think that the environmental cost of building a house the way they are doing it now is way heavier than the cost of building an eco-friendly home, then they would build more eco-friendly. But if they feel that if there's not, maybe they don't think that there's actually that much of a problem, then they're not going to spend the money. And there may be people just, I think it just has to do with a money thing. People just might not be able to afford to build large scale like that, and again, they just probably feel that there's maybe not enough evidence, or at least in their minds.
Okay, and I also have one last question to ask you. Do you blame the people for this problem, or the government, or something, or someone else? And please explain why.
Well, I guess I would have to blame both the people and the government, because the people can bring it to the government, there might not be enough people bringing it to the government. That may be a problem. Even though we may think that it's enough people, it might not really be enough people on a full scale throughout the United States. And also it might be, I think it's also a government issue as well, because maybe in the certain areas that the people have actually brought it to the government, they might not have done anything about it. So, it might even tie in politically with the same reason that maybe they're not building anything eco-friendly now. It might have to do with politics as well, lobbying or whatever, and it's just might have to do with that, or it could also do with certain areas where people just maybe they don't feel that it's an issue, and they may not bring it up to the government at all.
Okay, Andy, thank you very much for having me and letting me interview you, and I really appreciate it, and I hope to meet up with you again.